Okay, thanks for joining, folks. My name is Tonev. I am a staff 2 engineer in vSphere. I'm working primarily on the vSphere UI, but I'm also contributing on the Tanzu vSphere world. So today I wanted to show you the differences between the TKGm, nowadays TKG standalone, and vSphere with Tanzu. So we'll go through some overview of how Tanzu appeared in VMware, and then I will introduce on very high level the TKGm and vSphere with Tanzu, and then we'll compare the two solutions, and then I will show you use cases in which you might think which would be the better fit for your needs. So what is VMware Tanzu? It's a suite of products and services designed to help the organization in the adoption and deployment of Kubernetes clusters. So the origins of Tanzu are coming back to 2017, when we joined effort with Pivotal and started developing the Pivotal container service. VMware acquired Heptio, and this was the starting point for these two solutions, where our core products are TKGm and the old name of vSphere with Tanzu, TKGS. So this is the timeline. As I said, back in 2017, we joined effort with Pivotal. We announced the general availability of PKS, or Pivotal Container Service, in 2018. And in the same year, VMware acquired Heptio, which was a startup, and it was co-founded by two of the Kubernetes co-founders. Then we, together with Pivotal, released the enterprise PKS, and we rebranded the Heptio solution, which was the essential PKS. The same year, we acquired the Pivotal as well. So these two solutions that were the core and the base of the Tanzu portfolio were now in the same company. So the next year, 2020, we introduced TKGm, which was a multi-cloud solution. You were able to deploy Tanzu Kubernetes clusters on top of Azure and AWS. We introduced vSphere with Kubernetes. This was the other name back then, which is vSphere with Tanzu, which is primarily focused on vSphere. And we introduced a platform called Tanzu Mission Control, which is a cloud service where you can monitor your Kubernetes services. So in 2021, we introduced some of the important features in order for to increase the adoption of these products. We started supporting more load balancers like AVI and HA proxy. We allowed the self-service of namespaces. I'll talk about briefly later. And we introduced the VM service. I will explain a little bit later what is this. So what is TKGm and new name TKG standalone? You can imagine that we have something like a management cluster that is the cornerstone of the solution. From there, it is you can imagine that it is a Kubernetes cluster, but from there you can start and deploy tons of Kubernetes clusters. We call them TKCs. So you can now, with kubectl, just say, I want another Kubernetes cluster, and this will bring you a vanilla Kubernetes that you can provide to another person or administrator in your company. So TKGm enables the organization to deploy and manage Kubernetes cluster in an automatic way. So this makes the management of the Kubernetes more easy with upgrade and visible, manageable across different environments. So you'll be able to see, no matter of the infrastructure, your clusters being able to deploy through the same tools like Tanzu COI. So with such kind of solution, you have a consistency and a repeatable approach for deploying the Kubernetes clusters. And we have integration with other Tanzu products, some of which is, as I mentioned, Tanzu Mission Control and Tanzu Observability, meaning that now you have a place that you can monitor the health of your clusters and you can see the utilization of those. So the next solution which we will compare with TKGm is vSphere with Tanzu. So we started researching back in the years how we can run containers on top of ESX, and we developed this one by providing grouping the ESXs like worker nodes and have control planes like let's call like regular VMs. And we call this Kubernetes cluster. It's similar to the management cluster in TKGm, but we call it supervisor. How supervisor is different? You can again deploy Tanzu Kubernetes cluster again through Tanzu through kubectl, but you can also run containers natively. We call those containers vSphere pods. The difference is now that this being part of the ESX and managed by vSphere, you'll be able to leverage the known features like HA, DRS. So you'll be able to even use a kube CTL to deploy VMs, which we call this feature, we call it a VM service. So with this, we enable the VI admins to manage the resources from your vSphere client. The resources, the permissions and the similar to the resource pools, you can monitor the utilization from the vSphere client. So how to, if you compare these two solutions, you can see that the vSphere with Tanzu is tailored for Kubernetes on vSphere and offers exclusive features for vSphere, while TKGm lets you manage the Kubernetes on your own infrastructure. Both are good in terms of security, automation, and identity management, but TKGm provides flexibility in terms of where you want to deploy. So here I have this comparison table where you'll be able to see how the two solutions differ. So for for vSphere with Tanzu, the premier management tool is the vSphere client, while for TKGm, it is the Tanzu Mission Control. Although Tanzu Mission Control also can work with clusters and supervisors in vSphere. So the management interface is Kubernetes API. So no matter which one you choose, you can use the Kubernetes API to deploy those vanilla Tanzu Kubernetes clusters. The deployment and management, of course, for Tanzu on vSphere, it is the vSphere, while for TKGm, it is on your infrastructure, and you have more flexibility in terms of networking, how to deploy it in terms of storage and topology. So for networking, for Tanzu with vSphere with Tanzu, we support deploying and using your regular vSphere distributed switches and NSXs, while for TKGm it is the networking you won't use. Actually, those are like they are regular VMs, so you're responsible for the networking. So for storage, in vSphere we have storage policies that you can directly translate to the Kubernetes language. So those will appear like storage classes in your supervisor and in your Kubernetes clusters. And now those you as a VA administrator can manage those policies directly from vSphere. While with TKGm, it is a new Kubernetes cluster, and you have to manage that. In terms of higher availability, since 8.0, vSphere with Tanzu supports 1 or 3 zones under the same data center at the moment. While with TKGm, you can have any type of zones, and those can be in different clusters, host groups, or whatever. While for vSphere with Tanzu, the 3 zones are 3 independent clusters under the same data center. In terms of scalability, you can scale up and down the vSphere with Tanzu, but you can imagine that the hosts are the actual worker nodes. So this means that adding new hardware or removing it. While with TKGm, the worker nodes are actual virtual machines. So you can deploy them and expand them, and they can be cross cluster and host. So in terms of Kubernetes version, the supervisor version is at the moment part of the vSphere release. So you need to upgrade the vCenter to get the newest Kubernetes version, while with TKGm, those releases are independent. We know that this is a problem this is a problem for you in terms of vSphere with Tanzu, because it's not easy to upgrade the whole environment. But we are working on this, so we can provide an easier way to get the latest Kubernetes version. In terms of load balancers, with vSphere with Tanzu, we support NSX, AVI, and HA proxy, where we recommend, of course, AVI if you use vSphere distributed switches, and NSX if you have it. With TKGm, you have the option of using AVI or kubevip. The Tanzu CLI, which is initially used only with TKGm, now works with vSphere with Tanzu. It has almost full support, but it is partial, since the management is primarily from the vSphere APIs and the vSphere client. What offers additional, and this is mainly because vSphere with Tanzu is integrated solution, we have two features which are vSphere pods and VM service. vSphere pods are containers that run natively on the ESX. So you can experience a little bit better performance. By a little bit, I mean something like 5% better. But those pods run natively on the ESXs, and you don't need to have deploy Tanzu Kubernetes cluster on top. The VM service is a new way of deploying VMs. So now you can specify what type of VMs you want to allow the person accessing your supervisor to deploy. So you can say, I want this kind of CPU reservation, I want this amount of memory, and the person utilizing the Kubernetes can say, okay, I want to use this VM class, this is how we call them, and this image. So for example, if your company is, for example, for bringing up WordPress, for example, and you want this to be on a virtual machine, you can allow your administrators to easily just say, I want another instance of that through the kubectl. So, so those are VMs deployed through kubectl. We support supervisor services, so those services are can be deployed in your supervisor, and they provide you with additional abilities of your Kubernetes cluster. One such solution, for example, is Valero, where you can do a backup of your Kubernetes environment. And as I said, Tanzu Mission Control support both of the solutions. So how should you choose if you have the option? So if you have a vSphere environment and you don't have preferences in terms of networking and topology, and for example, you want 1 or 3 zones, then vSphere with Tanzu is perfectly suitable for you, and it has much more advanced features because it is, as I said, integrated with all other vSphere features like HA, DRS, storage policies. You'll be able to see the utilization clearly from the vSphere UI. You'll be able to see the pods deployed in the supervisor from the client. If you want a lower learning curve, as VI admins, most probably you're familiar with the vSphere client, so I would suggest you, of course, to use vSphere with Tanzu, because your knowledge will be applicable in such kind of environment. If you are thinking in terms of high availability, as I said, with vSphere with Tanzu, we support 1 or 3 zones at the moment, only in a single data center. So if this is not fitting in your case, then most probably TKGm is a better solution, because TKGm is not limited to number of the clusters, but it can be deployed on top of clusters and host groups, and it can have an arbitrary number of worker nodes. If you want to deploy on a single host, then you have to use TKGm, because the minimum requirement of vSphere with Tanzu is a cluster with 3 hosts in it, but we recommend at least 4, especially if you use vSAN for storage. So in terms of scalability, as I said before, vSphere with Tanzu scales up and down on worker nodes, mainly with hosts, because hosts are the actual worker nodes of the vSphere with Tanzu, while in case of TKGm, everything is actually a VM. So you can just spin off a new VM, and that will be the worker node that is going to be used. So in case of edge deployment, it is similar to the single host. It is TKGm is better suitable in that case, because vSphere with Tanzu just doesn't support it. If you have advanced networking requirements and you want to deviate from the topologies that we support with vSphere with Tanzu, then you have to go with TKGm. Probably the networking is the hardest piece of Tanzu, because you have to make sure that you isolate and have routability between the different networks. So you have to think of the networks that are exposed to your internal customers. You have to have a workload network where your containers will be deployed, and of course you have to manage your management network where your vCenter resides. So basically that's it. If you have questions, comments, you're welcome. Yep.
What do you suggest for home lab beginner? Probably TKGm, because you can install it on a single host.
Yes, I will recommend you to, if you just want to experience the Tanzu Kubernetes cluster, probably TKGm. But since the setup is kind of different, and you want to apply it in your organization, and you are considering TKGS, I would definitely recommend you to use TKGS. So, yeah, my recommendation is the proof of concept should be as much as closer to the one that, yes, yeah, and even in the home lab, you can just span a virtual ESXs on your physical one. So you can experience the TKGS even with a single host, although it won't be as performant as you would expect. Yeah. Other questions? So in terms of architecture, Nicola has a presentation in the end of in the afternoon. Yeah, he will go to more deeply in terms of architecture and how the things are working.
Mm-hmm. Large installation, which is the best solution? TKGS, TKGm?
For what installation?
Large installation. Big installation.
Big, yeah, definitely. I would recommend TKGS.
TKGS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
With NSX?
With NSX, yeah, that would be the best one.
Can we see an example of the dashboards and show those?
Let me see. So at the moment, I won't be able to show you the dashboard for Tanzu Kubernetes, Tanzu Mission Control, because I don't have it handy, but I can show you how the things are appearing in the vSphere UI if you want to manage your vSphere with Tanzu from the vSphere client. So let me just log in. And the trickiest part with Tanzu is the networking. If you learn and understand how you should set up your networking, as I said, those three layers of networking, then it won't be a problem to enable it, and then you'll be able to see what I will be able to show you. Probably the connection is a little bit slow, but
This afternoon we will have another session which is similar to this. So we explain here the difference from TKGs to TKGm. This afternoon we will go deeper into the architecture. I will do this this afternoon, and we will talk about the same topic, but we will go a little bit deeper. If you need to see some things, maybe I can organize something maybe later for some clarification.
mm-hmm.
No problem. Yeah. You know, usually local is so difficult to do something because of firewall or so on, connection, so for experience is like that. And the session will be in Italian, so I think some problem about language will be that to understand.
Yeah, so in the vSphere client, this is the workload management screen. So here you'll be able to see your supervisors. You see the state of the supervisor. You can see, for example, I have enabled it with 3 hosts. You can navigate to the supervisor if you want to know more. So, for example, here there are the as I said, the most important piece is the networking in terms of load balancer management and workload network. So you specify what storage policies to be used in terms of control plane VMs. We introduced recently the identity provider, so now you can supply your own identity provider for the supervisor. So now your the customer of your infrastructure will now be able to log in with their credentials of your identity provider, and that will be isolated from your vSphere environment. So we support image registry, and as I said, you'll be able to see the vSphere pods. Those are the pods that I have. For example, if you want to see for a particular pod what is the YAML representation, you'll be able to directly see it from here. So then if we are going to the namespaces, I have only one. So you can create those namespaces directly from the vSphere client. And now actually those namespaces are the known resource pools beneath. So you can specify what is the storage policy, how much you allow your customers to use, like a limit of CPU, memory, and storage. So you have control over how much they will take from your infrastructure. As I said, there is a VM service, and you can say, I have these VM classes, like VM class is a reservation in terms of CPU, memory, and you can say, I want to my customers to deploy these types of VMs. So now you can control the images as well as the types of VMs that they can deploy. And it is convenient because sometimes containers are not suitable for all solutions, but at the same time, you don't want to receive tickets every time somebody wants to create a virtual machine.
If you want to see TKGm, Marco, this afternoon, just
I have a session for lunch on install TKGm standalone manager cluster.
So no other, the competitor, you say that.
Yeah. So this is how your inventory would look like. So once you enable on a particular cluster supervisor, you see this resource pool called namespaces. And then beneath, you see your vSphere namespaces deployed there, visible there. You see your Tanzu Kubernetes clusters here, the VMs that are deployed. So you see how they look into the known inventory in vSphere.
The work is the host or is the work? The Kubernetes cluster, the work. This example, the work.
So the three.
Kubernetes.
So at the moment, for example, this CentOS is deployed on the actual hosts. The hosts are the worker nodes. They execute the actual work. These three, we call them control plane nodes, and those are the control planes in terms of the Kubernetes. But yeah, they don't actually execute any of the CPU consuming operations.
What is the advantage of deploying a VM through Kubernetes services or directly by SSI or vSphere?
So you have the same VM. The difference is that you will be able to provide your colleagues with a tool to deploy directly VMs in your environment, but you'll be able to limit what they will be able to deploy. And they might have, as I said, you might have a different identity provider, meaning that they will be able to log in this cluster, but they won't have access to all other. And you don't have to think about privileges, because otherwise I don't know how you manage environment, but if you want to slice a piece of your infrastructure, you know that you have to deal with privileges. And we know that we are not very good in that. Yeah. Other questions? No?
It's a huge topic.
Yeah. So, thank you.